Today we'll be doing the next sections of Robert Browning's My Last Duchess. Children, before you start this section, please go through lecture 1 of this poem that has been posted. So another important thing, we have already seen the background to this poem. We have seen the different themes, the important themes that we have to keep in mind when we are reading this poem. And you can also read this poem with other popular poems of Robert Browning, which talks about love. And particularly when you are doing My Last Duchess, I would invite you to read through Perfidious Lover, which I have given to you in this slide. And you can also read this along with Andrea del Sarto, which talks about an Italian painter which also has the Renaissance Italy as its background. And here we have Andrea del Sarto, who is a painter whose wife goes away with a young man of her choice. And while in My Last Duchess, we have a duke who is jealous of his duchess, and he takes steps to obliterate her totally. He kills her. In fact, towards the end, it is suggested in the poem here. As I told you, that we have actually benefit of doubt about the actual incident that happened in history, but for the sake of the poem, we believe that this it was the duke was responsible for the death of the duchess. Now in Andrea del Sarto, we have Andrea, whose wife Lucretia, she also escapes. She elopes with a young partner, and Andrea is helpless, and he says, these are some lines that I'd like to quote from the poem, and says, must you go? The cousin here again, he waits outside. So here we have Andrea. We actually feel sad for this man, Andrea del Sarto, who is helpless against that young lover of his wife. And it's a totally different context that has been presented in My Last Duchess and in Andrea del Sarto. We have another very nice poem that's called Evelyn Hope, where love has been shown to be to go even before death, to continue even after death. And we have the speaker there who says that God above is great to grant, as mighty to make, and creates the love to reward the love. I claim you still for my own love's sake, delayed it may be for more lives yet. So he is the lover, he is ready to wait for his beloved even after even in the next lives, even after death. So he loves her so desperately that he wants he wants her love even after death. And here we have a poem in My Last Duchess which is completely different. So let's go into the next few lines. So when you are doing this poem and when you are writing answers to this poem, please make a counter reference to the poems that I have mentioned, particularly Perfidious Lover, and you can also mention Andrea del Sarto. You may also give reference to Evelyn Hope if you want. Sir, it was not her husband's presence only called that spot. See, in the previous section we saw that he was encouraging the convoy to ask him questions, that how such a countenance, how such a glance came there, and he was sure that the convoy could ask him, and he was ready to answer his questions. And he says, sir, it was not her husband's presence only called that spot of joy into the Duchess' cheek, that blush in her cheeks. That was not because of my presence. Perhaps frappe and of chance to say, her mental laps over my lady's wrist too much. Mental, the cloak, laps over my lady's wrist. So it must have hidden the wrist. So the painter might have said, see, it hides your wrist. You slightly remove that. So he might have spoken it in a very cursory way, very casually, but that caused the Duchess to blush. Her mental lapse. So he does not blame the painter who is painting the picture by saying that why he uttered such a statement. Her mental lapse. Because it is a casual statement, and he knows a painter's task is to perfectly portray the picture, portray the figure of his figure of his painting. Perfectly paint a picture. But he is critical of the blush that has come into the face of his wife. Her mantle, a mantle meaning cloak, laps over my lady's wrist too much. Or he might have said, paint must never hope to reproduce the faint half flush that dies along her throat. So he might have said that, see, if I cannot paint that half flush that is dying down your throat, along your throat. So such stuff was courtesy, such stuff was casual, courtesy, bhadrata. It was only natural, it was only respectful to the appreciating. It was only casual on the part of a painter to appreciate the thing that he was painting. She thought, and cause enough for calling up the spot of joy, but she thought otherwise, and cause enough for calling up the spot of joy, and she blushed for joy. She had a heart, how shall I say, too soon made glad. So, what does it reveal about the Duchess? That she was a lady who was very simple and innocent by nature, and who could be made happy very fast. She was someone who could be easily pleased, and she was very simple by nature. Even simple statements, even simple appreciations, simple notes of courtesy made her happy. She was a very, very good lady, and this is what is revealed about her character. Too easily impressed. She liked whatever she looked on. That is, whatever she liked. She did not dislike anything. She liked whatever she looked on. Everything. She was, she was actually, here we have a duke who is appreciating art, who is a connoisseur of art. Here we have the lady who appreciates life, who appreciates the beauty of all things in this world. So she is a lady who appreciates words. She is a lady who is soon made glad. She is a lady who is easily impressed, and she likes whatever she looks on. And her looks went everywhere. Sir, it was all one. What was all one? Sir, it was all one. What was all one? My favor at her breast, that is my gift to her at her breast. So if I gave her a diamond at her breast, so it was same. We said it was all one meaning all the same. What? My favor at her breast, the dropping of the daylight in the west, the sunset, the bough of cherry, some officious fool. Or what is the word officious? Officious meaning self-important, someone who is overbearing, bossy by nature. So he might, in order to please the Duchess, he might have brought along a branch of, a bough of cherries, a branch of cherries he might have brought for her, and this made her very happy. The white mule she rode with round the terrace. The white mule, the female horse that brought her along round the terrace. All and each would draw from her alike the approving speech. Approving? Something that she approves of. Approving speech. Oh, it is so good. So whatever. My favor at her breast, the diamond that I give her, that is equal to the sunset, and that is equal to the bough of cherries, and that is equal to the white mule. So the pride of the Duke is here flattened, actually, because he does not believe, how could a lady equate his gift of a diamond with that of a bough of cherries? Or how could how could it be appreciated with the same word as a sunset or the white mule? So it was something that he could not conceive of, and something he did not appreciate. But it reveals something about the character. It reveals to us the true nature of the Duchess, and now we understand why there was why the passion of that earnest glance was there, because she was a lady who was appreciative of all things beautiful, not merely something that hung on the walls, something that could be presented, some sculpture, but everything, all the things of nature. She was actually someone who could appreciate all the goodies of nature, sunset, the cherries, the white moon. It reveals as she was a courteous words, an appreciative glance, everything all received the approving speech. So everything for her was same. So what are the four things that she equates? See, the gift of the Duke, the sunset, the bough of cherries, the white mule. Approving speech, or blush at least. She thanked men. Good, but thanked somehow, I know not how, as if she ranked my gift of a 900 years old name with anybody's gift. So how could, it was a good thing. The Duke says, see, it was a good thing that she thanked everyone. She was courteous, she was polite, it is a good thing. But I do not understand how she could equate my gift of a 900 years old name, that is, that she was a duchess, something that we have born through the generations, a name that I have given her. How could that give the gift coming from such a person be equivalent to that of the other gifts? It was impossible. My gift of a 900-year-old name, that is my family hierarchy, I was giving her the family hierarchy, and along with that all the priorities that she received with such a name. So those are the things that I gave her. How could she equate that with anybody's gift? How could she equate that with the gift of an officious fool, or the sunset, or the white mule? In speech which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one. I do not have words how to explain, to make your will quite clear to such an one. I do not know how to make my speech, my words appear to you more clear, and say, just this or that in you disgust me. Here you miss, or there exceed the marks. I did not have the words. I could not tell her that, see, you do not meet my expectations here. So what is a woman's condition? The woman has to meet the expectations of the man. Here the Duchess is unable to meet the expectations of her man, and therefore what is her end? What is the end result? The end result is she has to embrace death. In speech which I have not, to make your will quite clear to such an one, and say, just this or that in you disgust me. Here you miss, or there exceed the mark. এখানে তোমার একটু কম, এখানে একটু বেশি, এটা আমি কিন্তু বলতে পারলাম না. So I could not tell you this, that you miss the mark by this inch. So I did not have the words to say. And if she let herself be lessoned so, nor plainly set her wits to yours, forsooth and made excuse. See, I could not, I did not know, that she had to be lessened in this manner. And why she could not have the lessons by herself? She could have used her own wits. Even then would be some stooping, that is, not plainly set her wits to yours. That is, if she was unable to match her wits to my standard, if she was unable to understand, have the common sense to understand the expectations of a duke, then she had no, she was not worthy enough to be a duchess. That is what he wants to say here. Even then would be some stooping, bending down. Even, if I am to go and tell her, that is, you miss the mark here, you miss the mark there, so that would also be a kind of stooping, that would be a bending, and I did not want that, because a duchess is supposed to meet my wits. And I choose never to stop, that is, and I chose never to stoop, that is, I do not know how to bend. So if I am to go and tell her that you miss the mark here, you miss the mark there, so I would be doing a kind of a stooping, bending down, and giving her space, and this is what he does not want to give her. So if he goes to her and tells her, see, do not do this, do not do that, you are not supposed to do this as a duchess, learn to appreciate. So he was not ready to go and talk to her. So there was no talking space, there was no space that he wanted. He just wanted her to understand his feelings, and he would be acting accordingly. On the other hand, he was not he was not willing to understand the thought of his duchess. He was not appreciative of what she was doing, of the simple nature, of the innocent behavior of her nature, and he was critical about it. On the other hand, he wanted her to understand him properly, and he felt that if he went to her and talked to her and tell her that what he wanted from her, that would be a kind of a stooping, and that stooping he was not ready to do. Stooping here meaning bending meaning bending, झुके जावा. So he was not ready to bend down to her. See the condition of women, the position of women that has been presented here. Oh, sir, she smiled, no doubt, whenever I passed her. That is okay. She smiled to me as well. She never, it was not that she was not courteous to me. She was not respectful of me. She was respectful towards me. She smiled. She showed her love and respect towards me. But who passed without much the same smile? But everybody got the same smile. What was the difference between a duke and an ordinary man? Because to her, the duke was similar to an ordinary man. On the other hand, he was unable to understand his wife, his duchess. Okay, this grew. That is what grew? this simple nature. He felt this was crossing the limits. This grew, bere jache. When we say this grew, that is, you are crossing the limits. So he is showing a finger. He's showing her his finger and telling us, see, you are crossing your limits. I gave commands. I gave, what kind of commands did he give? What kind of commands is suggested here? Who'd stoop to blame this sort of who'd stoop to blame this sort of trifling, trivializing? What trivializing? Smiling, trivializing of a duke with an ordinary man. She smiled at the duke, no doubt, but who went without the same smile? So সবাইকে সবার দিকে তাকিয়ে তো হাসতো, তো রাজা আর প্রজার মধ্যে আলাদা কি হলো? So this sort of trifling, trivializing, making ordinary. Even had you skill, then all smiles stopped together. Then all smiles stopped together. There she stands. All smiles stopped together, meaning all smiles. So there was no more smiles. So there was no more difference, no more differentiating between the duke and his subjects. So all smiles stopped together. All smiles connected with the commands that he gave. All smiles stopped together. That is, he gave commands for the death, ordered her death, so that he would not be disturbed by the simple innocence of the Duchess. In order to stop that, he felt that she was crossing her limits when when she valued every human being as they were, as an individual. To her, each and every human being was a creation of God, and she appreciated everybody, everything. But the Duke could not take it. A man who has such a perfect idea about art, who is a connoisseur of art, who has a true sense of the aesthetic beauty of things, he is a man who is not able to appreciate life. So at the, it's a beautiful poem. It's a very, very beautiful poem, which tells us so much about individuality, which tells us so much about, the psychological mind of the Duke, and at the same time it reveals to us the character of the Duchess. It tells us about men who are ready to appreciate artificial things, who are ready to appreciate things that do not have any that do not have life in them. On the other hand, they do not appreciate life itself. So it is not that Browning himself was very much interested in paintings and music of the Renaissance period. He is appreciative of it, but he also hints at this fact that art should not overlap life. Art should not overbound, it should not go beyond life. Life is something that is to be appreciated first and foremost, and then comes art. So this is a very, very grave and serious lesson that Browning is talking about here. Even had you skilled, then all smiles stopped together. There she stands as if alive. Will it please you rise? We will meet the company. Will it please you rise? Okay, now that you have seen it, let's go. We will meet the company below. Let us go and meet the others. So now he has turned his attention to the, see, this is what occurs in the poem. We are so much into the poem that suddenly we have the presence of the silent, we have a movement. So he is talking to the silent interlocutor. So, but we are taken, our mind is flowing into the rhythm of the poem. Will it please you rise? We'll meet the company below. Then, I repeat, the Count your master's known munificence, generosity, is ample warrant that no just pretence of mine for dowry will be disallowed. That is, say I cannot pretend, no just pretence of mine for dowry. That is, my demands for dowry, I cannot demand for less dowry, because I know that even if I pretend to want less dowry, your Count is very generous. He will give me whatever I want. For dowry will be disallowed, though his fair daughter's self, as I avowed at starting, is my object. But see, even though I want dowry, I will not pretend that I will take less dowry, because I know that your Count is generous enough is munificent enough to give me as much as I want. But at the same time, I would like to assure you that it is the hand of his daughter that I want. She is my primary object. So at starting is my object, as I avowed at starting is my object. What? that is fair daughter. This it is your daughter that I want primarily, but the dowry comes later on. So at the same, but we understand now, we have already understood the true character of the Duke, isn't it? Nay, we'll go together down, sir. Come, let's go. We'll go together. Notice Neptune. Who is Neptune? Neptune is the Roman god of the sea. Notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse. See how Neptune is taming a seahorse. So while he is going down the stairs, he draws the attention of the emissary once again to another painting, and that painting is, though that is to another sculpture, and that sculpture is that of Neptune, who is taming a seahorse. See, here I've given you the picture of Neptune. We have fishes here, because we have a tortoise here, so he was a Roman god of sea, and he is taming a seahorse. Thought a rarity. What is the thought a rarity? The statue of Neptune taming a seahorse, that is a rarity, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. Who is Claus of Innsbruck? Innsbruck is considered, of Claus of Innsbruck was probably a very, very renowned sculptor of the times. Now again, if you go through the materials to it, you will come to know that Claus of Innsbruck, like Fra Pandolf, is also a fictional figure and cast in. But what is the sense of the sense of the entire poem is later on here. So taming a seahorse, it is kabza karna, bringing under control, dominating, controlling. So it is the mind of the Duke which intends to control control his wives, the Duchess. And even when he is talking about his new wife, he is talking about the fact that my new object, see the use of the word, is my object. You associate the word object with a commodity or a thing, isn't it? So his intention, he is like Neptune. He considers himself to be a god. He is all powerful, omniscient, and who does he control? His wives. Thought a reality. At the same time, that he is thought a reality, so he is appreciating the art, appreciating the sculpture, the art in the form of the sculpture, which is a rarity, which is not found in every place. So he is a man. So who can collect? The ordinary people will not collect things of art, isn't it? Who will collect it? The dukes, the rich people will collect it, who have the financial stability to obtain it. Those people will collect it. Ordinary people can't. So that is also associated with this power and position. It is something that is associated with his societal power, and that he uses that societal power to oppress, to dominate, like he has dominated his previous, my last Duchess. So we do not know how he has got read. I would use very, I'm using here the word read, getting read is not something which is very respectful. So for the Duke, it is actually getting rid of his previous wives, isn't it? And so therefore the title of the poem, My Last Duchess. Notice Neptune, though taming a seahorse, thought a rarity, which Claus of Innsbruck cast in bronze for me. So he is once again the very crux, the core of the poem is touched here. What is more important? The art is important or life is important? So what is more important here? The value of the painting is more important, or the value of wife is? The answer is very clear cut and sharp. We already know. Now here here I have given you an excerpt in the entire poem of Perfidious Lover. So I would like you to take references from this poem as well. See, at this point, what Porphyria's lover, the lover was not able to obtain the love of Porphyria, but finally Porphyria accepts his proposal, and he wants to eternalize that moment. So he does not want that moment of love that he has received from Porphyria to end. And with this intention in mind, he actually he tries a string around her neck and suffocates her, and she is killed. And what does he say? He says that he is trying to eternalize that moment. So we have different perspectives of love that is presented in Browning. we saw one perspective of love in My Last Duchess, and it reveals so much about the character of the Duke, and it gave us ideas, multiple complexities about art and life. And here we have Perfidious Lover, where love is presented in a different light, and where too Perfidious Lover kills Perfidia with the intention to eternalize the moment. It says, "That moment she was mine, mine, fair, perfectly pure and good. I found a thing to do, and all her hair in one long yellow string I wound, tied. 3 times a little throat round, and strangled her. No pain felt she, I am quite sure she felt no pain. As a shut bud that holds a bee, I verily oped her lids." Okay. "The smiling rosy little head, so glad it has its utmost will, that all it scorned at once is fled, and I its love am gained instead." See, everything else does not matter, because I have eternalized that moment where she was in love with me, and I am going to live that life. "Porphyria's love, she guessed not how her darling one wish would be heard. Her darling one wish would be heard. And thus we sit together now, and all night long we have not stirred." That is, we have sat in that position for the whole night. Nothing can stir us. Why? Because that moment has been eternalized. That moment is never going to end. So Porphyria can never tell me that she loves me no longer. Why? Because I have obtained her love and I have eternalized that moment. So we have a psychopath here, isn't it? So what do we find here? The Duke is also a psychopath. He is a man who is actually sick, who is actually perverted, who suffers from an obsession, who suffers from self love. That is also a kind of disease that is called narcissism, and he is narcissistic in nature. He is given to self love name, 900-year-old name, my favor at her breast, I gave commands, this grew, everything is should be under his control, and even his new wife should be his object. And he is a psychopath who is narcissistic in nature, and who does not even hesitate to kill, who does not hesitate to totally obliterate, totally remove from the face of the earth a human being. What he is concerned about is only art. That is, it is objects of art that he collects, say the painting, the sculptures, the different objects. So he wants to show off. He is cruel, he is a tyrant, he is prejudiced, he is he is obsessed, he is dominating, he is suppressing, he is sick basically. So he is a psychopath. And here Perfidious Lover also, we have in Perfidious Lover we have another psychopath who is trying to eternalize that moment by killing his girlfriend. Now when you read this poem, you can also go through another very interesting lyrics of written by Chris de Boers, and the title is The Painter. You will find it in YouTube, and it actually talks about exactly the same thing as this My Last Duchess, and says, see, you can go through this Chris de Boers, the painter, the lyrics, and which talks about the fact of My Last Duchess, the painting he's talking, and that poem also talks about the painting. So kindly go through it. All right, thank you.